What's going on, friends? Siptonic here again, bringing you some more Prime DVD content. So if you enjoy the video, make sure to hop down below where you can like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you want to check out some of my live streams, head on over to twitch.tv/Siptonic. Thank you again for watching. You're beautiful. Peace out.
Yui Kimura, straight from Tokyo Drift. Yui makes her breakout role in the fall. With her great sense of fashion and insane strength. Seriously, she can lift a freaking pallet! The Oni. With his oversized kitchen knife, he will slice survivors, suck their blood, and pull out a bat ribbed for their pleasure. He will then turn all survivors into worthless slugs. Alright, people. All jokes aside, let's get into an actual review. My impression of Dead by Daylight Chapter 14, Curse Legacy. First up, we have the Oni's perks, okay? I want to go into a little bit of detail of these perks. How I think they look to me as a Survivor 4-head main. First up, we have Zanshin Tactics. Unlocks potential in one's aura reading ability. You're mentally alert and aware of key points on the battlefield. The auras of all pallets and vault locations are revealed to you within a 24-meter range. Whenever a survivor is damaged, this perk becomes inactive for 40 seconds. So this is kind of similar to the Survivor perk Windows of Opportunity. I think it's mostly going to be used by maybe beginning killer players, if used at all, to kind of identify key pallets and vaults nearby, just to kind of maybe push survivors in a certain direction. I don't think this perk is going to be used that much, especially not in any actual real killer builds. Second up, we have Blood Echo, which reads, the agony of one is inflicted on others. When hooking a survivor, all other injured survivors suffer from the hemorrhage status effect until healed, and the exhaustion status effect for 45 seconds. However, Blood Echo has a cooldown of 80 seconds. So pretty much every hook, any survivor that's injured will suffer from hemorrhage and exhaustion. The key here, I think, is that exhaustion piece. I think this might actually see some usage in some killer builds, primarily in killers that can keep people injured and injure people easily, such as maybe Plague and Legion. The fact that this perk, I think, is kind of helpful in shutting down primarily Sprint Burst, Dead Hard. It also just shuts down every exhaustion perk, assuming the survivors that aren't hooked are injured. Legion can get back to the generators pretty fast. You can't Sprint Burst away. You can't Dead Hard away. You're pretty much left with nothing. So I'm kind of interested to see if we don't see more killers running this in some sort of niche builds in the future. And the last teachable for the Oni is Nemesis. Now, I really like this perk, okay? I've said really a handful of times, okay? I don't play much killer, but let's read this first. You seek retribution on those who have wronged you. A survivor who blinds or stuns you using a pallet or locker becomes your obsession. Anytime a new survivor becomes the obsession, they are affected by the Oblivious status for 40 seconds, and their aura is shown to you for 4 seconds. Now, obviously, the killer can only be obsessed with one survivor at a time. Now, for those of you that don't know, this Oblivious effect basically means that you do not see the killer's red stain or hear their terror radius for 40 seconds upon becoming the obsession. So, stuns like head-on, pallet stuns, D-strike, they all trigger this perk. I think one of the best uses of this perk, like one of the best builds I've seen so far, it's been a few weeks now since the DLC dropped, is actually combined with a perk called Play With Your Food. And I've seen it work pretty well on the Cannibal and work decently well on the Shape. So when you have a Tum-Tums chasing after you, whether you're the obsession or not, right? He'll just walk through all the pallets. You'll throw the pallet down, stun him, trigger Nemesis. You become the obsession. He'll break the pallet, thereby losing chase, gaining a stack of Play With Your Food. Now, Tum-Tums might chase you again. Drop chase on purpose, go into another pallet, break it, lose chase, etc., and get another stack of Play With Your Food. Or he might just take his 1-2 stacks, maybe he's already at 3, and chase after somebody else. And he'll be super fast. This perk kind of enables Tum Tums to be a somewhat, I mean, he's not a very strong killer, but a somewhat stronger killer when combined with Play With Your Food. Michael can also do this, the shape. He can kind of use this perk sort of the same way. He obviously just doesn't always have a one-shot down like the Cannibal. So yeah, overall, I kind of like the Oni's perks. I think the best one is obviously Nemesis. Blood Echo is kind of a close second. Works with, I think, a couple killers. But Zanshin Tactics is kind of meh. Overall, what do I think about the Oni's playstyle? Do I like playing against the Oni? Oh, I love playing against the Oni. He is super fun. He's super strong. Upon release, he has this crazy 180-degree flick at the end of his charge, and it's honestly terrifying. It is scary. You can do some crazy things. Pretty much, it enables the Oni to kind of act like Billy, but at the end of his charge. I've seen a couple Onis that have really, really smart game sense and can actually flick around at the end of his charge, pretty much a short wall, like 290-degree angles, and get you. It makes him a monster at pretty much any loop. He can destroy you. A lot of people are saying that he's kind of uncounterable with his power, but I don't know about that. I don't know if I'd say that 100%. I think he might be a little bit weak around like 2 medium-sized walls, if you can get a quick turn on the second wall, if you kind of understand what I'm saying. But overall, I think he's incredibly strong. The one thing that I compare him to, I guess, is maybe a little bit of Spirit, where there's sometimes as little you can do in the chase when he activates his power, but he's a lot more fun to play against. He's way more interactive. You can see him. He's terrifying. He's just a lot more fun to play against than Spirit. But I don't think he's necessarily stronger than Spirit or Nurse. I think he kind of comes in maybe a close tie with Billy, maybe a little bit worse, because Billy, the Hillbilly, can use his power pretty much the entire game from start to finish. The Oni actually has to get hit, usually a couple hits before he can get enough blood to use his power. And that's going to be the one thing I think that sets him apart from Billy and makes him maybe a little bit weaker, is he has to get his initial hits in to get blood. So if you as the Oni player find a survivor, find a couple survivors, and they're near safe loops, and it takes you forever to even hit somebody or get your power going, I mean, you're basically a 115 speed killer until you get your power. That's it. I think he's going to be really strong with his capability of slugging, but I think it might just take a little while for survivors to understand that you don't want to necessarily go for the slug as soon as Oni downs somebody and charges off, because usually he'll be right back, whether he finds somebody or not. Now, since recording a lot of this footage, the Oni has been nerfed. His 180-degree flick at the end of his charge has been nerfed, I think, to pretty much 90 or less. He's kind of abysmal right now. I liked it when he was way stronger. I know they kind of didn't intend to release him with that 180-degree turn at the end of his charge, but I thought it's actually what kind of made him unique and powerful, and actually really fun to play against. This is coming from a Survivor main, by the way. So we'll see what they do. I think they have plans to actually make his flick or turn at the end a true 90 degrees, which is hopefully going to be a decent buff to where he is now, but I guess we'll see. All right, this is my favorite part, the Survivor review. So, Yui Kimura, let's take a look at her perks. First off, we got Lucky Break. You've had your share of scrapes and bruises, but luck's always on your side. Lucky Break activates anytime you're injured. You won't leave trails of blood for a total of 120 seconds. Lucky Break is permanently deactivated for the remainder of the trial once the total duration has elapsed. This is kind of the key here to pay attention to, is the ending of that perk. Basically, if you are healed, Lucky Break stops, and you can reserve whatever time is left for when you're injured again. So basically, for the entire trial, you have 2 minutes worth of more or less not leaving blood. I think it's one of her worst perks. It's not terrible. I think it fits best inside maybe a sort of stealthy or immersed build that's kind of built at dropping chase with the killer, escaping chase. Works well with, I think, perks like Iron Will. I think that's almost a must with this perk. Maybe Dance With Me, Quick and Quiet, some sort of kind of Houdini-ish slash escape build, maybe more so than an immerse build. Your second perk, which I've actually grown to really like this perk. It's sort of, I guess, maybe more of a meme or kind of a joke perk, but it actually has its uses. So let's look at this. Any means necessary. You stand up for yourself using whatever's on hand to gain an advantage. Press and hold the active ability button for 4 seconds while standing beside a drop pallet to reset it to its upright position. Any means necessary has a cooldown of 140 seconds. Now this is actually 120 seconds, I believe, at tier 3, so it's about 2 minutes. And this perk is really, really fun. Generally, if you're playing against a smart killer, they're going to be breaking the pallets that are safe, or at least they should. So most of the times you're going to end up resetting pallets that are kind of unsafe, that the killer left behind. But there are those opportunities where the killer's going to be chasing somebody else. They're not going to kick a pallet, whether the survivor forces them to or not. And you'll be able to come by and actually reset it, use it for yourself. Your teammates can use it later on. It's kind of cheeky. But one thing that I've also been able to do, actually a handful of times, is inside of a chase with a killer around a safe loop, you know, they won't break the pallet as they should. I've actually been able to make it back to the loop either by dropping chase like permanently against them or just for a few seconds to pick it up and use it again. Or sometimes I just meme by literally picking it up in the killer's face and throwing it again and stunning them. That's honestly, I think, its best use. Last perk. Now this is, I think, one of her best perks. I could probably write a novel about this perk and how you can use it, but let's just read it first. Her last perk is called Breakout, and it reads, you kick into high gear when someone's in trouble, inspiring them to overcome any obstacle. When within 6 meters of a carried survivor, you gain the haste status effect, moving at 5% increased speed. The carried survivor's wiggle speed is increased by 20%. Now at tier 3, this is actually 7% increased speed. So you move noticeably fast. You can get in front of the killer when they're carrying a survivor, assuming they're not running agitation. But oh my god, is this perk fun. It actually took me a little while before I started... I know it's not hard to use this perk. Before I started to really realize how strong this perk was and use it effectively. I've been using it in solo queue, doing Survive with Friends. I think it's best fit for a Survive with Friends group because there's a lot of games where people are playing, whether it's like a Sabo squad game where you go and you try and Sabo hooks, you're out running no mither, you're trying to do this meme thing where the killer can never hook anyone. But I also think it fits pretty much inside of any Swift play style. It allows one person to basically allow a survivor to wiggle free from the killer's shoulders by themselves. They don't need the entire team taking hits. They don't need the Sabo hooks. You literally just, as soon as the person gets picked up, you rush over to them, stay within 6 meters. They wiggle 20% faster. You can get in front of the killer to take a hit. If the killer's far enough away from a hook, or he's being greedy trying to take him to basement, it's so easy to actually break people out of the killer's grasp. I think a strong Swift group with everyone running Breakout, maybe coupled with like Boil Over Medal of Man is really strong here. It's very, very, very strong. If there's more than one person that has Breakout, if everyone on the team has it, you combine it with something maybe like Empathy or Bond so you can see your teammates exactly where they are. It's honestly really strong. I've been able to get this to work actually a lot in solo queue, but that's where I think you kind of need Empathy or Bond because, you know, obviously you don't have comms. What else can I say about this perk? Oh, this perk with Medal of Man is disgusting. I've been able to get Medal of Man inside of one use of Breakout. Your full health, if you're running a med kit with the new quote-unquote insta-heal that gives you the borrowed time effect, you can take the initial hit, walk forward a little bit, pop the med kit, take the borrowed time hit, and then if you want to or if you need to, you can actually just take a third hit near the hook if you don't think the person's going to wiggle free, and you'll already have your 3 protection hits. You'll already have Medal of Man that fast. Or you can just take 1 or 2 hits, or just one, go away, heal, take another hit later. It's actually pretty easy to get this to work with Medal of Man, and it can kind of be clutch endgame. Now, where I think the balance here with this perk is, obviously you're not doing gens, right? You're running after the killer, you're trying to get your teammate free. If you're taking a hit or basically trading their position on the killer's shoulders for yours, I mean, it's kind of to the killer's benefit. But if you're actually able to get somebody to wiggle free without going down, that can be huge. Like I said, again, the balancing point here obviously is that you're not doing gens, you're not doing the objectives, you are doing a form of altruism, which I guess is an objective. But you can sometimes, if you're not using this perk correctly and you make a mistake, sometimes you can just further feed the killer and whatever power they're using. But yeah. And as far as Yui goes, I think one of the coolest things about her are her cosmetics, to be perfectly honest. I think she has some of the coolest cosmetics, and one of the things that I really actually like about her are her bloody clothes, her prestige clothes. I'm not a big fan of the headpiece per se, but I think the pants and the top go pretty well with actually a lot of cosmetics. I really like the color scheme. I like the designs. I don't know if this is the edgy Siptonic inside me talking, but I kind of like the bandana as the headpiece. I've been switching between the top that comes with it, the prestige top. I like a lot of her cosmetics, so I think they did a really good job with Yui as well as Oni in terms of design. So kudos to behavior. Well, that about wraps up my review for Chapter 14, Cursed Legacy. Hopefully you all enjoyed, and see you guys in the next video. You know, they were very, very, very different, but probably won't be enough. People just can't be pleased. I'm gonna get hit here, aren't I? When does that ever work? Hello? No? He hit the corner of Killer Shack. This is so sad.